Thank you, everyone. We are waiting on a quorum. We are waiting on a quorum. Thank you. Mr. Johnson, we will start with our public comment at this time. Good afternoon and welcome to the August 12th meeting of the Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee. I am Councilmember Andrea Boone, chair of this committee. To my right is the Honorable Amir Faroki. To my left is the Honorable Vice Chair Dustin Hillis. At this time, we will have public comment. We do have a speaker, Mr. Nicholas Burns. Please come forward.
Good afternoon. My name is Nicholas Burns. This is not my first time coming here. This is probably about my fourth. So I'm just gonna stick straight to it. In this year of March, I lost my daughter to SIDS. That morning, I woke up, I had to make a phone call, I had to call 911. I had to constantly hear the tone of, there are too many callers calling right now, so they put you in a queue. And that's my whole caveat. It's been 5 months, and I recently had to call 911 again, and I got the same message. I don't know what it will take to hire more dispatchers or get another dispatching center open, but this is a problem that shouldn't be happening. The last thing anyone wants to hear when having an emergency is, we'll be right with you. That's nerve-wracking, and that's world-shattering. My wife and I are working on a policy or an initiative to try and get a infant emergency hotline, and we're giving out CPR kits to parents, doctors, stores, and pediatricians to try and help and curb this. The city can also help fix this problem as well. The infrastructure in the city cannot support the amount of people here. There's not enough ambulances, not enough doctors, not enough police officers, not enough anyone. There's too many people in the city. That's it. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we will have our crime update. I see Deputy Chief Hampton. Please come forward. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My friends at Fire told me to keep it short, so I'll make sure I do that. All of you should have received our crime stats. Right now, year to date, we're 3% down compared to the time frame of this last year this time. Homicides are equal. What we see as far as homicides, we're seeing still leading our escalated disputes, followed by domestic violence. And the other thing, what we're seeing in the past 4 weeks, we're seeing that crime is also going down in a lot of the categories that we've been challenged in. Burglaries are down, our robberies are down, larceny from auto as well as our auto theft. Again, we just think that the work that we've been doing, especially over these last summer months with school starting, has again been very beneficial. Just our partnership with our local, state, and federal partners, Operation Heatwave. We're just finished our 3rd deployment, And out of that, we've had 45 arrests, with 10 of those being known gang members. 18 guns have been confiscated, and a lot of marijuana and MDA has also been recovered. And then not only that, fighting crime, we've also had to have numerous events such as hosting the 2 presidential candidates, and those events have gone well. So again, we've been very busy, but again, we rely heavily on our partnership to continue to deliver quality service.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the committee? Any questions? Deputy, we had some really heavy shooting on the Richardson Street area. Could you, without going into too much, could you let us know exactly what happened there? Some people were really injured, several shootings.
Yeah, so we know
What
that.
night was that, Saturday night?
Saturday night, that was after the conclusion of the Mechanicsville community event. We know right now that 5 individuals were shot, and 1 female is in extremely critical condition. CID, our Criminal Investigation Division, is currently working that case. The last update that we received this morning is that they have some great leads on that one. Again, over 90 shell casings were recovered, and so we're really going to have to rely also on the participation of the community to assist the investigators on that case. I believe we're working on possibly doing a press conference to elicit more information from some of the participants that were out at that event. But again, we are definitely moving forward in that investigation to try to bring that to a successful conclusion.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. At this time, we will have our Director Talley come on up to APD Code Enforcement, our quarterly update.
Great. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and other members of the committee. I'm Daphne Talley, the Director of the Atlanta Police Department Code Enforcement Section. Thank you all for accommodating us today, and also thank you for the opportunity to present on code enforcement efforts. During the presentation today, we're going to talk about our staffing and inspections levels for quarters 1 and 2 of 2024. We're also going to update the committee on the compliance resolution activity for FY24. And joining me at the podium later on will be Captain Baxter. He's going to provide an update on the Safe and Secure Housing Initiative as well as Vehicles for Hire. And so while hiring qualified candidates and retaining them continues to be our top priorities, we can't thank this committee enough for approving the increase in salaries for our code enforcement officers during last year's budget, and also approving the additional 12 code enforcement positions for this budget cycle. So thank you very much. We started 24 with 25 code enforcement officers. We hired 3 additional code enforcement officers in quarters 1 and 2, but we also promoted 5 of our code enforcement officers to other divisions within the office. I would like to take this time to publicly thank our Deputy Director, Laleen Parks, who's here today, for setting up a cross-training program that allows us to promote from within. So our customer service representatives, our research techs, if they're interested in being promoted to a code enforcement officer, they're able to do that. We have our code enforcement officers who also are interested in a leadership position. They're able to promote up in our senior positions as well as our supervisor positions, as well as the housing demolition officer position. Also, we have now 21 code enforcement officers. So we're down a bit, but we have 3 candidates, 3 code enforcement officer candidates that are nearing the final phase of our background process. And we also have an additional 8 candidates that we've submitted for pre-screening. So when it's all said and done, we should have 36 code enforcement officers in the field. Now, if you were around 818 Pollard last Friday at 1 p.m., you probably thought that we were having a block party. I know this has been a concern for some of our code enforcement officers as well as some of the members of the committee, but we have added 12 new Ford Mavericks to our fleet, bringing our fleet up to 39. That's still not enough, but we're getting there. So thank you again to the committee for approving that. So also with more field officers, we have increased the number of inspections that we conducted. We increased our number of inspections by 41% in quarters 1 and 2 of 2024 compared to 2023. And so, of course, with more inspections, we are writing more criminal citations. And so with this particular slide, these are the cases where we have not been able to gain compliance, voluntary compliance by the owner. So this is where code enforcement officers have gone out, conducted an inspection, research team has identified a property owner, and in most cases, we've sent out a courtesy notice informing the owner of the code violations on the property and how to remedy those violations. And the officer has returned to that property to determine whether or not the property owner has remedied that issue. When they have not, we are required to write a citation to bring those defendants into municipal court. And so currently we have over 350 complaints that are still active because we have either served the defendant or the property owner and they failed to appear in court, or we were unsuccessful at serving those cases. So over the next 2 months, our code enforcement officers will be working on Saturday, and they will be going out. They're going to return to these properties to determine what our next steps are, because again, our goal is compliance. So we will either determine if ownership has changed at these locations, whether or not they're eligible for some type of administrative in-rem action or judicial in-rem action, as well as turning those properties over to our city contractor for clean and cut, or to the Department of Corrections for clean and cut. Next is our abatement activity. This is compliance resolution. Our abatement activity has decreased a bit within the past 2 years. We conducted 36 clean and cuts, 12 clean and closes, and 54 demolitions. We conducted or executed 7 less demolitions than we did in FY23. And 2 of the factors that's contributing to the reduction in our abatement activity is the number of temporary restraining orders that property owners are filing after an order has been issued. In most cases, this is after the contractor has received a demolition permit, as well as we've had instances where the bulldozer was on site and the property owner again has filed a temporary order to stop the process. And the other factor that's contributing to the low number is Ms. Laus, who's our code enforcement or compliance resolution manager. Her team, they work tirelessly to work with those property owners that do attend those hearings, that do come forward and have a viable plan to bring those properties into compliance. So the total of properties that are under a TRO or an administrative hold right now, we are at 30. So these are properties that were slighted or scheduled for demolition, but now, again, we are working with those property owners to bring those properties into compliance. And with that, I will turn the mic over to Captain Baxter to give you an update again on the Safe and Secure Housing Initiative, as well as the Vehicles for Hire section. Thank you.
Committee members, good afternoon. Madam Chair, greetings. I'm Captain Jeff Baxter with the Atlanta Police Department. So as it relates to our Safe and Secure Housing Initiative, APD Code Enforcement is proud to be the lead agency in the mayor's effort to make sure that, again, we never have another incident like we had with Forest Cove, and making sure that we hold these multifamily property owners in check to make sure that we never get into that space again. So as it relates to a Q2 update, I'd like to say that we now have a dedicated project manager. That's Senior Code Enforcement Officer TJ English, who's here to my right. He's one of the hardest working code enforcement officers that we have, and we're happy to have him as the project manager for our Safe and Secure Housing Initiative. In addition to Officer English, we have 3 dedicated code enforcement officers dedicated to work with Senior Officer English in this initiative. So as we take a look, since we jumped into this with the mayor's office back in August of 2022, to date, we've had 34 multifamily details / interventions where we've gone out to these properties. And while our brothers and sisters from the fire department are here, I'd also like to mention when we're going out to these multifamily properties, with the help of Claudie Nash, who is a godsend and who is one of the best people that I know in terms of working here in the city. She jumped on board with us, and we now have not only her, but the fire recruits coming out to these apartment complex details that we have and making sure that these property owners have working smoke alarms, carbon monoxide detectors, and working fire extinguishers within their units. And so we thank the fire department for their support in this initiative as well. We've also been able to reduce the time that we have our re-inspections by 50% now that we have a dedicated staff. And then, of course, we work hand in hand with the solicitor's office and making sure we're all on the same page. And as it relates to that, and while we're trying to deal with these property owners, we've also teamed up with the State Department of Community Affairs, the Atlanta Housing Authority, and HUD to also take a look at these multifamily properties to see who's receiving subsidies, who's receiving reduced loans through HUD, and to be able to take and put those pressure points on these property owners and those other ways besides the citations that we issue to keep the pressure on. And so we're proud to continue with this initiative. Just to provide an example, as we look at Q2, just an example of a property where we've gone from start to finish. So if you take a look at 1425 Joseph E. Boone, and so that's in Mr. Amos's district, District 3. We look at this location, and so here's a perfect example of where we put the pressure on the property owner to come in compliance. We had a property that had 28 units. We went out there in May of 2023 to do our inspection / intervention detail. Obviously, we found a slew of violations, 140. You can see the breakdown of what those all were. And then by March of 2024, that property has been completely renovated and completely different from obviously the way it looked before. And so again, that's leveraging our partners, both state, federal, and of course our partner in the solicitor's office, and making sure that happened. And so just wanted to show that win from this past quarter. So vehicles for hire. So the Atlanta Police Department is getting back into the vehicles for hire space. The Atlanta Police Department is bringing back the vehicles for hire section. Just to give a little brief background. So back in 2017, vehicles for hire was transferred under the Department of Aviation. So vehicles for hire went to the airport under DOA. And what that meant was in terms of enforcement activity outside of the airport, when it comes to our equine, our horse-drawn carriages, and our taxi cabs, there was none. And so recognizing that we needed to make sure we had enforcement outside the airport when it comes to our taxis and our equine, back in FY25, through your support, we were able to create 4 vehicles for hire enforcement officers and 1 supervisor position. We currently have 3 of the 4 positions hired, including the supervisor position. And our current supervisor, Ms. Wimberly, if you'll stand up, let me recognize her. So this is our vehicles for hire supervisor that we hired. And again, I think it's important that we get back into the space, especially with the World Cup coming up in 2026, to make sure that we're holding our CP&C taxi drivers and our horse-drawn carriages accountable for City Code 162. So City Code 162 is what we operate under in terms of our enforcement efforts and all the rules and regulations that relate to them. And so with that, we're back in that space. Any questions I can answer? this afternoon.
The Honorable Dustin Hillis.
Thank you, Chairwoman Boone. Thank you, Captain Baxter and Director Talley for the presentation and your team for all the work you all do. One question I had, and I asked this because we've seen kind of implementations of this in other departments. Public Works, Watershed comes to mind. They have a specific email that council members can use, so we're not constantly bothering Director Talley. But for escalating issues regarding code enforcement and then any type of quality assurance, quality control program you all have, I mean, just using it as an example, I sent 2 emails to Ms. Talley this morning about, issues that had seemingly been stuck in the system and been there for a while. Do you all have any type of QA/QC checks that you all do on a weekly or monthly basis to look at old cases and escalate those and get them unstuck and progress them along?
We actually do. We actually just hired for that position, and he's here today, and I'll let Director Talley speak on that, but the short answer is yes, but Director Talley can provide the specifics.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Daphne Talley. He is correct. So we just hired our new management analyst. We've not had one in a couple of years. Actually, he's here today. Mr. Vo, if you would please stand. So he is actually doing just that. He's running the reports. He's running a daily report. He's running a weekly report and a monthly report. We have a weekly meeting with our supervisors to catch those complaints that you're speaking of, the 2 emails that we received today, because a lot of them will get stuck in certain areas. So he's running those reports daily so that we can get in front of what's happening.
Good. Thank you, and that's good to hear.
Okay.
Lastly, I think this is a question I may have consistently. I think I asked it last time, and I may need to direct my question to the solicitor's office, but I just would like to hear an update on where we are with 2500 Center Street. Rolling Bends is what I call it, Etheridge Courts. It has a new name now, but of course hasn't changed the conditions at those 2 properties. So where are we with holding those landowners accountable?
So I'm going to invite the project manager, Mr. English, up to give an update on that.
Thank you.
Officer English, project manager with code enforcement. 2500 Center Street and 2591 Etheridge Drive Northwest is scheduled for a hearing on Wednesday, August the 14th.
Great to hear. And that's in Superior Court.
No, that's in municipal court. That's in Judge Portis' courtroom 5A.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We have been joined by the Honorable Antonio Lewis. Also, Director Talley, at 320 Fairburn Road, we did have a fire at that apartment complex, and some additional training of those residents as well would very much be appreciated. 320 Fairburn Road, Country Oaks Apartments.
We've been made aware of that. My team and I actually did a detail at that location last week. We went out in response to an interior inspection for a rodent and insect infestation. And like most properties that we visit when we are called out for an inspection, we do sort of a cursory inspection of the entire premises. And that's where we discovered the building all the way at the rear of the premises labeled building endured a fire, and it impacted at least 8 units. The bottom units on the terrace level floors are actually open and vacant. So those are considered as highly hazardous complaints with code enforcement. So we'll be moving forward with the civil process. So eventually they'll be in court in the near future.
Okay, would water leaking in those apartments be a code enforcement violation? Okay, we have several of those issues, and I will speak with you all offline about that. The Honorable Antonio Lewis.
Thank you, Council Member. While we have Mr. TJ, Mr. English up, congratulations.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
To understand how when we ask about projects, you know the date that they go to court, you know all over the city. I know who you are. I had the chance to walk through Pavilion Place with you. And so I'd like an update on Pavilion Place if you can first.
Pavilion Place Apartments, of course, known as 532 Cleveland Avenue Southwest. We're in the process of scheduling another detail there. Of course, you know, that's one of the first complexes that we did 2 details there. And there's been an influx of calls from that location. So in the near future, we'll be scheduling another detail there. And when we conduct the detail, we'll do what we call the open records request. We'll go through all of our open complaints for that address, and we'll make sure that we address every single complaint that we receive that we have opened and that have not been resolved for 532 Cleveland Avenue.
Thank you. Today, I'd like for you to add, I walked through 445 Cleveland Avenue today, and
Is that Gulf Vista? 445 Cleveland Avenue, is that Gulf Vista Apartments?
Yep, they named, I think they changed the name to Cleveland Ave Park.
Yes, sir.
And I walked through with the owner of the entire complex today, and since you all reached out, they've done so many improvements. So thank you all for your work you've done at 445 Cleveland Avenue. I did that this morning.
Yeah, we'll continue to monitor that situation as well.
Thank you. Maynard 3, please add them somehow, some way. And please give me updates when you can. Maynard 3, it's in Joyland Community on the Arthur Langford. Actually, both apartments do both sides, Maynard 3 and Maynard Place.
Copy.
The Miss Lyles. Miss Lyles has been amazing. She's institutional knowledge, and she's effective and efficient. I wanted to make sure I said that when you spoke about here. But 11 to 21. When I got elected, we had 11 code enforcement officers for the entire, 12 code enforcement officers for the entire city of Atlanta. The one thing I said, double up. We've doubled up. Time to double up once more. To see the smiles on the faces, to understand that the work is getting done, to know that we're expanding, we're still not big enough. To prepare for the World Cup, to prepare for the things that are coming to the city of Atlanta, 21 is not enough. 11 was not enough. I was right about that. 21 is not enough. It's time to double up. So thank you for that. And lastly, I got a call from every organization that you work with on Cleveland Avenue, and they wouldn't call me at first. So thank you for doing your work, because now we can get some work done. Thank you again for the service you're doing to our district.
Do we have an update on the Fairburn Gordon apartments on Fairburn Road?
Yes, we also have them in court on Wednesday. They'll be there for a status update. That's 193 and 213 Fairburn Road Northwest.
Will you please send that through email so that I can share that with our MPU leaders as well?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. The Honorable Antonio Lewis.
Miss Ashley Bruno, Ms. Bruno and Ms. Lane, I had the opportunity to stop by Hobson Street with them last week, and to see I know Ms. Bruno may be new, but to see the efficiency and the effectiveness. She did some stuff we didn't ask her to do, but we need it done. So thank you so much for being intentional and setting up that meeting so fast for the neighbors on Hobson Street. Thank you again for that.
Director Talley, have we had an opportunity to get to Ridgecrest Forest and Dollar Mill Road, Dollar Mill Court, Dollar Mill Way?
So that's the detail. I believe, Ms. Parks, is that scheduled? I know you requested a detail on those
Yes.
on those particular streets. So I did send that to the deputy director so that we can get that scheduled soon.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Do we have any questions or concerns from the body?
I'd like to talk to you offline.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay.
you.
And Councilmember Hillis, we will have an update regarding that first email you sent this afternoon. We just needed an inspection done first. Thank you.
Thank you. Very well done. And now we will have our fleet update. Fire Chief Roderick Smith, Atlanta Fire and Rescue Department. And Chief, while you are coming, I would like to thank your entire team for the assistance that they have provided at 320 Fairburn Road. That was a very tragic incident. Those members of our community were left with virtually nothing. Your staff came out, spoke with them on this past Friday. Your chief of staff was there on hand, Terrence Simon and others with recruits to give assistance to those families. So thank you for following up on that request. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's our pleasure. Good afternoon, everyone. Rod Smith, Fire Chief, 4th City of Atlanta. It's my pleasure to be here today. for a couple of reasons: to give you an update on the status of our fleet, on the recent release of our fleet maintenance audit. I have with me here Commissioner Garman, who is over Public Works, to support our efforts moving forward. But I want to start by giving you an overview of a couple of events, noteworthy events that have occurred in the city of Atlanta. Ironically, one of them is the fire at 320 Fairburn Road that occurred on the 15th of July. There was a 3-story apartment structure fire where flames were visible upon arrival. It became a defensive operation. There were a couple of critical factors our people ran into, including reports of a person trapped or people trapped, and multiple housing units that were impacted. On top of that, there were extreme heat conditions due to the temperatures outside that day. I'm proud to say that there was no loss of life. Our crews immediately jumped into action despite the challenges they faced, which is fire coming through the roof as well as a dead hydrant. That hydrant was reported to Public Works, and it is in the process of being reported. In addition to that, our people proactively requested a MARTA bus to come out to that location to assist with cooling and giving our members as well as citizens somewhere to rehab. So thank you again for your assistance on that call. The next fire event I want to mention to you is the one that happened at 1950 Howell Mill. That was on Saturday, July 27th, 2024. Our members were on the scene within 5 minutes. It is a 5-story multi-unit complex. There was a fire on the rooftop. Smoke and flames were visible on the arrival of our equipment, and there again, there was a report of someone being trapped. I'm proud to say that no one was trapped at that location. Everyone got out of there safely. There was no loss of human life at this location, and the fire was contained to the rooftop. Yes, we experienced some challenges, and I'm sure you have heard. We had a nozzle to malfunction, on one of our aerials, as well as a stem broke on a hydrant during its activation. Our members are very poised in adaptation and rising to the challenge. So I just want to commend the men and women of Atlanta Fire Rescue for how they handle that call. We realize that a lot of the things that we do, we are adapting with equipment that will malfunction. However, I am assured by police services that they will jump ahead and make sure that any repairs that we report get priorities. We immediately turned that property back over to the owners after that fire, and I want to thank constituent services for jumping in the gaps after that, because there's sometimes a lot of questions as to who has ownership or responsibility of that building. So thank you to them for jumping into that one. That fire right now, as well as the previous fire, is still pending an investigation. But what I can share with you about the Howell Mill fire is that there was a confirmed unsanctioned rooftop event that went on that had 100+ attendees, and that a propane grill was being used inappropriately with charcoal being utilized. And so that investigation is still ongoing.
So Chief, I have a question regarding the involvement of the Red Cross with both of these incidents. I would like to know exactly at some point, what exactly does the Red Cross provide? Because the citizens in both areas, the fires happened around the same time, were not fully satisfied with the response of the American Red Cross. We need to know exactly what to expect as a city from them, because on both ends, the city had to jump in and provide additional support. Some tenants were left with nowhere to sleep, no towels or anything. So we need to get with the Red Cross, find out exactly what we should be expecting from them. We physically went out to the structure at 320 ML King, took towels, socks, things of that nature, and we're told that many of the citizens did not have anywhere to stay except for one night. So we just want to verify and make sure that we're all on the same page, because as you can imagine, both of these incidents were tragic for these citizens of Atlanta. Thank you.
Hear you loud and clear, and we understand the displacement and the inconvenience that a fire like this may cause impromptu for our citizens. And so we do understand and know that there is new leadership in this region as it relates to the Red Cross. And so we have requested a meeting with them to discuss what services they provide, as well as establish some expectations as far as a consistent response on behalf of the city. So hear you loud and clear.
Thank you, Chief.
So with that, I'll jump into our fleet update. And as I said, the fleet maintenance audit has been released lately, so we want to give you a clear snapshot as to readiness of operations for Atlanta Fire today and moving forward, how we intend on improving. I will start by going over our current fleet life cycle. From there, I'll talk about the new vehicles that we've requested and their status. I'll share with you our proposed fleet replacement plan, and I say proposed because Fleet Services ultimately has control of it. However, we have been operating off this plan since 2002. I'll share with you the audit recommendations that pertain to Atlanta Fire Rescue, as well as our future service enhancements that we are preparing for the city of Atlanta. If you look at this table, you will see the life cycle of the fleet for Atlanta Fire Rescue, including identifying each piece of equipment, the count of that equipment, the life cycle, which is consistently 15 years across, and you will see where that equipment falls in that life cycle. Now, mind you, this is just based on the age of the vehicle only, and so we will have to continue working futuristically with Fleet Services to tie in the maintenance of those vehicles and the cost of operation. And so our fleet replacement plan will ultimately be dynamic. But what you can see from a glaring perspective is the number of reserve vehicles that are at or above that age. And so that is the initial strategy behind our development of our current fleet replacement plan addressing the reserves, realizing the significance of having suitable reserves to put our people in while repairs are going on, because we realize that trucks will break down on a regular basis. I will share with you that the average life of an engine for the city of Atlanta in our front line is 9 years old, and the average age of the TDAs is roughly 9.5 years old. Our straight side trucks, the average age is 7 years old. Next, you'll see a list of equipment that has been procured on behalf of Atlanta Fire Rescue. And you can see the delivery dates that have been proposed, as well as current delivery dates. You can see the equipment that has been delivered, as well as that equipment that is pending. Just to draw this in for you, standing right now, we have 8 engines that we are waiting for delivery. 2 TDAs, 4 support trucks, and 1 engine for the airport, having pending delivery a total of 15 pieces of equipment or 15 apparatus. And for fiscal year 25, you will see where we're going and what we have requested as I move forward towards our fleet replacement plan. Next, you will see the equipment that we have highlighted that we have requested on behalf of our airport or aviation division. Notably, you would see that there is 1 engine that is scheduled to be arriving here in November for the airport, as well as you will see that we have some cargo vans for decon and communications at the airport. On this slide, you will see our fleet replacement plan, and it is a proposed plan, and it is a 15-year cycle. Please note that this is an aggressive plan that puts us after year 8 into a steady state cycle, which means that we consistently will be purchasing the same amount of equipment from that point on to ensure that we don't stack too much equipment the same age, the same time, rotating out of our fleet. This is considered best practice across the fire industry to ensure that you don't end up with a lot of equipment like historically we have done, all of it being the same age. You will see on this list is that the proposed request for fiscal year 2025 is 8 engines and 3 TDAs. So as you can see, we will continue to move forward in this space and the posture we have taken of replacing our reserve equipment first, if you look at these numbers, and we will make sure that we shore up the frontline equipment as quickly as possible to get us to that steady state, ensuring that our members have the equipment that they need as we continue to operationally answer the needs of the city of Atlanta. Next, you will see that the recommendations that were made as a result of the recently released fleet audit. I've taken the opportunity here to identify the ones that fall up under the responsibility of the fire chief and the Atlanta Fire Rescue Department. We take full ownership for the recommendations that you see posted here, and I can assure you that before the end of this fiscal quarter, all 5 of these will be resolved. The first one is for the fire chief to adhere to the fleet services policy regarding the purchase of vehicles. Taking ownership of that one, yes, we did step outside of that policy, but it was due to the urgency and no movement being made by the past group that were making the orders for fire. So yes, we elected to go outside of that. So we clearly will stay in those lines moving forward, working forward with Commissioner Garman and Public Works. The next one is to ensure that we have a replacement plan that will ensure that the vehicles are purchased in a timely manner. The schedule that you see that I just provided for you is the tentative schedule that we will be pushing for, including we've shared this with finance to ensure that the money is available to move forward with this fleet plan, and we will ensure to continue to work with Commissioner Garman and the fleet services team. The third one is about specifications committee. We've taken that one a little more, and we are going to do more than specifications. We're going to take an apparatus committee that is collaborative between fire and Public Works, and we will meet monthly with them and commit to documenting the committee notes. The first meeting of this sort occurred actually last week, and we will continue in this posture to ensure that these meetings occur and that we are on the same page moving forward with our fleet. The last 2 tie into Operative IQ, which is an electronic version of our antiquated checkoff sheet that our members have utilized to daily inspect the vehicles. This requires us to put into policy the use of Operative IQ, as well as having a check and balance in place where a company officer will check behind the individual and this information will be shared with fleet services. And so we are working with that. The policy is being drafted to be released shortly, and we are working through the technical pieces of updating the Operative IQ checkoff sheet to include the officer in charge. And so there again, I say to you, all 5 of the recommendations that fall up under the onus of Atlanta Fire Rescue will be addressed in this first fiscal quarter. I'm happy to share with you over the horizon as we move into better spaces with our fleet. We continue to grow the services of Atlanta Fire Rescue. And so you will see additional rapid response units. Those will be small pickup trucks that are staffed with paramedics or EMTs responding throughout the city to assist in reducing the call volume for our engines and ladders and the movement throughout the city. You will see additional units come online very shortly. You will see initiatives such as electric emergency response vehicles. We've teamed up with our Fire Foundation, who is supporting us in this effort for capital projects to put rapid response units, as well as the city's first electric fire engine in service here shortly. We have a new initiative that was funded through, two new initiatives that were funded through the FY25 budget. The Fast Truck, which is a fast-acting service truck, which will look to offload some of the service calls that our trucks are running. And so we're trying to do our part to ensure that we change the load and the output that we put on our trucks and move some of those calls into other designated areas to manage those spaces. And last but certainly not least, we are looking to stand up a 24/7 response drone unit in collaboration with PD, where any department in the city that needs a vertical advantage point from a drone's perspective, we will be able to assist in those spaces. And last, and certainly not least at the bottom, I say see the 2024 AFRD business plan so that you can see what we intend on doing moving forward this fiscal year with the city's commitment funding-wise to Atlanta Fire Rescue. And with that, I'll open the floor up for any questions that you, Madam Chair, or the council members may have of me.
Thank you, Chief. The Honorable Amir Faroqi.
Thank you, Chairwoman Boone. Chief, just a couple questions on that last slide. I know you'll get questions about fleet replacement, which is top of mind for all of us, so thank you for that explanation. Electric fire truck, I'm just curious, how viable they are. And I say that because 6 years ago, when I was on the Transportation Committee, the airport came to us and said, we want to spend a bunch of money to buy electric buses to shuttle folks back and forth between domestic and international terminals. Bought these buses, there was federal money involved as well, and pretty soon thereafter, these electric buses weren't proving to be very useful. They were not running as long as they should have, and ultimately gas-powered buses formed most of our back and forth between international and domestic. And so in the fire apparatus space, how realistic is it that you have an electric fire truck that serves the needs of our city? Is it experimental? Are we going to be footing the bill for this entirely? Is there other money that would foot the bill for this? I'm a bit wary of them as much as I want to believe in the promise of them. In practice, sometimes they don't play out as we'd want them to.
Okay, thank you for the question. So what I can tell you is that there is one currently in service in the city of LA. This will be the first one on the East Coast. And yes, it is a pilot project. That pilot project is being included in the capital initiative by our Fire Foundation. So they are supporting us in this space. And so it is not anything that we're just dumping on the city to be stuck with an electric fire truck. This is a pilot initiative.
And the electric fire truck that we are piloting or will pilot has the same functionality as a gas-powered.
That's correct. And it also has a regenerative gasoline motor on it that won't put us in a space where we're in a dire need for a charge.
Does it require extra infrastructure at wherever it's stationed for charging, or?
Yes, so we've identified Station 19 as the primary location. And yes, we're being supported collaboratively by Georgia Power to help with the infrastructure that's needed to support it.
Thank you. Look forward to learning more and seeing how it plays out.
And you'll definitely be invited out. All of you will be invited out when we launch it.
Fantastic. And then on the drone response unit, excited to see this. I think there's a lot of opportunity here for whether it's public safety or other city departments to use drone technology to increase oversight, keep your eye on things, whether it's for security or response frameworks. I know City of Brookhaven's police department uses drones in a pretty proactive way where they will just set them up and actually respond to like a traffic accident to see if they actually need a patrol car to show up or not, and other situations like that, right? So you're able to move people around based on what the drone is telling you. And I'm curious with this, you mentioned cross-departmental coordination, what that looks like with this drone response unit. Like how closely are we working with APD or even other non-emergency response city departments?
So we already have this in our funding initiatives for this fiscal year. Reached out to Chief Shearbum and talked to him about collaboratively. He has some people that do it as well. And so our goal is to make sure that as we start this inaugural unit, that is available 24/7. And so we will be working collaboratively to build out. We don't know what the program is going to look like in terms of a response or the services that you're going to get, but we do know that there is benefit in putting this unit together. We've got some very sharp people that are responsible for these drone spaces, and we're going to let them grow the space and tell us what we need.
And in a exclusive fire department usage, is the idea that for certain types of situations like a high-rise fire or a swiftwater rescue, that you send the drone up to look at the lay of the land before you decide how to deploy people? Or are there other uses that I'm not aware of that?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Everything that you said. Good example, Howell Mill. It could have definitely changed the decision-making if they could have seen exactly what they were dealing with. And so it will be used in multiple ways. We'll probably run the tires off of it, going in many different directions. Good example would be something out on the Chattahoochee as we get those jet boats that we've procured, and we start getting deeper into that Swiftwater River action. You will start to see those activate more, and there will be a lot of training as well and education across the multiple city departments to let them know what resource we have available now.
Great. Thank you. Excited to see that. I yield my time.
Any other questions or concerns from the committee? Commissioner Garman, we definitely like to hear from you as well. Commissioner, the Honorable Dustin Hillis.
Chairwoman Boone, thank you, Chief Smith. Just want to start with questioning where are we today? How many engines and ladders are out of service today?
Out of service, if I remember correctly, that we had 5 engines that were down. However, one of them, I think there's a hydraulic line challenge, and there were 2 that were involved in an accident.
So those are long-term, the 2 accidents are longer-term.
Oh, yes, those are longer-term repairs, yes.
Thank you for that. Since it's one of the 2 fires you spoke about, we'll bring up some of the issues at the Howell Mill fire. It's just outside of my district, actually, in Councilmember Norwood's district. And you stated some of the challenges we had on the city side. I know there were issues that you spoke about the grill and the unsanctioned party. And I've seen in some news articles possibly some fire code not being followed or something by that property owner. But I will first focus on the city's issues with the trucks and looking over, after seeing a news story, looking over one of the dispatch logs. You know, this ended up being a 2-alarm fire. But on the first alarm, it was on the trucks. There was truck 15, truck 21, and truck 26 were sent to that fire pretty quickly, called a second alarm when they saw the fire. But I believe 2 of those initial trucks had issues, and just wanted to read some of the dispatch log to highlight that. They get there, working a fire on top of the roof, fully involved, start a second alarm. Truck 15 on scene, we're going to ladder the building, we're going to ladder. We need to make sure we've got room for these trucks. Bring your apparatus to the parking lot. I need you to ladder the building over on the, I'm not sure what side, but some side. Truck 21, aerial is out of service. We don't have a ladder truck on our side. And then possibly a moment of hope. It looks like a rooftop fire. It's not going anywhere. If we get a water supply, it's going to go out. Looks like once you get water, you should be able to knock this thing down. And then further down the log, our directionals are not working. We can flow a little water, but I can't get it to the fire. Do you want us to connect to another truck? Engine 27 is not going to be able to flow water to 26 because 26's nozzle is not working. They can't aim the nozzle at the building. All right, truck 26 and 27 back out of this driveway. I'll get another unit that works. Commander, truck 15, can you hit the fire from the left? Is your nozzle broke? So we take vehicles out of service, but then we continue to keep vehicles in service that also obviously aren't serving their primary purpose. You know, ladder trucks are just to fight fires from the top, get water up that ladder through the nozzle and onto these fires from the top. So I think if you, and then maybe the one you're speaking of, I think ladder 25, which is from Southwest Atlanta, went to this fire. I don't know if it was stationed at 25 or not. I know it's been at 1 or 2 a little while, off and on, when that truck has been out of service. But I believe it blew a hydraulic line while it was at the scene. So then it was out of service after this fire. So these issues have been going on for some time, and I'm glad to see the numbers, the plan, and we've made some great strides on the engine side. As you mentioned, we have 4 of our reserves out, and those are newer units. And that's how many we have currently, right? We have 4 new reserve engines that are new.
We have 3 brand-new reserve engines and 1 frontline engine that we have received.
Okay. And where was that new front line assigned to?
36.
36, okay. And looking at let's kind of go through the slides as you did, and you mentioned the age versus the miles. I think we really need to look at miles because there are, as you know, and many other people know, there are extremely busy stations in the city, and there are some that aren't very busy at all. So I'd really like to see an analysis of the miles on these trucks and engines. And what also the audit pointed out was the quality, not on you, but that's on DPW, the quality of the maintenance and making sure that is being done consistently and in a quality manner. So once we get this audit hasn't been officially forwarded to the committee yet because it was received late last week by the clerk's office. So we'll see it again in 2 weeks. But looking at the current fleet life cycle page, on the reserve fleet numbers, it states we have 5 reserve engines, 3 reserve TDAs, and 2 reserve straight trucks. I don't recall having that many, especially the latter reserves. Are those units sitting on the lot and they're not functional, or?
That is the current fleet count. I can't tell you if it's, as you say, in service to be utilized. This is the current count. This right here is the current count of vehicles that have been allocated to us for reserves. So I can get that information for you.
Okay, yeah, I mean, just out of those 10 reserve units, I know you mentioned, I think 3 or 4 reserve engines are currently in service, but I don't recall seeing a reserve ladder in service. So if you could just confirm those numbers. They may be very well in DPW's inventory, but I don't know that they're functional.
Correct. You want to determine the functionality of the equipment that's in the reserve.
And if they're just setting, or they're waiting on parts, or what the current status is.
Gotcha, we can do that.
And then the next question is, looks like possibly some difference between the detailed new vehicle request and status. I see 2 frontline TDAs that have been ordered. One is supposed to be here at the end of this year. The second after that is unfortunately not going to be here until January of 2026, this document states. But then if you go to 2 more pages down where shows the fleet replacement plan, it shows that up through 2024, there have been 3 TDAs ordered. So what am I missing between those 2 pages? One is showing 2 TDAs, one is showing 3.
One of those may be represented as a support truck. I have to go back and see, because I know sometimes it gets conflated between what a truck is. And so I've got to make sure that they didn't list it as when they were putting the slides together, it was not listed as a support truck. But I can confirm that for you.
Understood, thank you. And just going aside for a minute, we haven't really spoken much about this because we've been focused on the city side issues, but what is the average age and any issues that have arisen in the airport fleet?
Actually, the airport's fleet is in very good shape. I can't give you a number right now in terms of the airport fleet, but I do know that this 1 engine that is supposed to be arriving is proactively replacing the oldest engine that was out there, which was one that was refurbed. And so conservatively, I would say the average age of an engine out there is about 6 to 7 years.
And then looks like, going back to downtown, our next arrival will be in November of 5 frontline engines. Do we have the station assignments for those yet?
We don't have the assignments yet.
And just touching on a few other subjects outside the fleet.
And we have the 3 reserves that are coming in according to this September of this year.
The
The
support
3
trucks or
reserve
engines, more engines? Going to the issues, backing off from us for a minute and looking at this property, this Howell Mill property. Like I said, issues have been stated that this property had. And of course, when one of these large apartment complexes are built, we are supposed to do or it's required for a CO to do a fire and safety inspection. So were any of those issues, that fire, and you probably can't get into whatever investigations you're doing or whatever, but did they indeed have that inspection? They obviously got a CO and house people there. And then secondly, and I believe this came up a year or 2 ago, due to staffing and COVID and et cetera, there was a very low number of fire inspections being done in the city. And so subsequently, and you can re-educate me about this, once an apartment complex gets that initial fire and life safety inspection and passes and gets their CO, who's the onus on to re-inspect that, and how often, and what happens if you don't pass, et cetera? Walk us through that.
So once they get the initial CO, if it is a mixed-use residential property only, there is no requirement that sets you to do it, or a frequency and how frequently you do it. We typically will, in good faith, go back out on a regular basis to make sure, and we typically try to use a 24-month or a 2-year window to make sure that we're going back. But as a result of the Howell Mill fire, we have a task force that we're standing up to identify all of the multiple occupancy properties that may have recreational areas on their rooftops, identify those, and we're going to target those and go back out and re-inspect. Also, to address where we were short in staffing, we've created an additional 15 positions in this budget to increase that community risk section. But to be honest with you, you can't have enough people in community risk. So we will continue to grow that space.
And going back to when this issue came up before, the inspection side and the staffing, so you mentioned you're going to be staffing up that unit, doing more inspections. You know, as you say, you can never do enough, but is that unit going to be fully civilianized? Is it going to have sworn supervisors? How is that going to be structured?
Combination. We're going back to some of our old practices where we're going to have some sworn supervisors, because there are some responsibilities that fall up under code enforcement that legally require a sworn firefighter to do. And so we will have a combination of sworn and civilian inspections.
And just a question, maybe for you, maybe for Law, on those recurring inspections, given the fire in Ms. Boone's district, the fire in Councilmember Norwood's district, the fire we talked about last year at La Vista, can we set how often these large apartment complexes should be re-inspected for fire and life safety?
Yes, we can, and that's what we intend on doing.
Okay, that's good to hear. And then just lastly, since it was one of your last slides, the kind of future service and where we're going. You mentioned the Chattahoochee, so first update me on where we are with that. I know the trails are in the plans and are funded, and as is the what they call the paddle trail, which will take people actually on boats and kayaks, canoes down the river. So where are we with ensuring safety along our river?
All of that is still under discussion right now. However, the first obstacle was to order the equipment and get it in a timely manner. And so we proactively replaced both boats with the intention of at some point housing one of the boats up off of the river. And so we're having conversations about how do we do that with Parks and Rec.
And then going off the water for a minute, this issue's come up for a few years now with police, with fire. I've had conversations about the Beltline. They're updating some of their location software and 10th mile markers or whatever the standard is for a trail. But just an example, if I go out on the Proctor Creek Trail and something happens to me, I break a leg, have a heart attack, have a stroke, but it's, let's say, 3/4 of a mile from Johnson Road, Closest you can drive a fire truck to probably be Station 22. How are those firefighters going to quickly get to me on our trail system? Well, that's just an example, but the Beltline, other trails, et cetera.
Right, and so response to the Beltline is constantly evolving because it is a new concept. What I can tell you is that under this administration, they have heard the cry of public safety to that point of knowing where we are going. If you go back out on the Beltline, I don't know when last time you've been, but there is a placarding system where every light post you will see a unique identifier that allows you to identify where you are on the Beltline. The members of operations have taken onus of that and developed response plans at each station that has a response that is contiguous to the Beltline to identify where they are in those spaces, in addition to getting to people as quickly as possible. Our special operations group will be tasked with identifying unique response areas, meaning do we need to put bike teams, do we need to put golf carts, studying the time of day and the activity on the Beltline to see how do we enhance that response moving forward. And so we're not just going to stick with the traditional response of sending a fire truck. What is the best served piece of equipment and how do we get them there as quickly as possible to meet that need?
All right. Thank you for that, and that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, the Honorable Antonio Lewis.
Chief, thank you so much for the service you've done in District 12. Our seniors are still raving about Ms. Nash and the fire recruits for the support. We wish we didn't need the support that you've been giving for us, but unfortunately we've needed and you've been able to do it. Thank you also for the support in Thomasville with the young lady who broke her leg. The family called me, and Thomasville is District 1, but they reached out to me, and you were able to send someone over to pick up the young person, take him to the hospital, and actually get him taken care of because it's not deemed an emergency by the hospital when they dial 911. But thank you for going above and beyond. We have to find a way to help folks in that manner. The questions I had were, because Mr. Hill has asked some of them and you answered them. Thank you so much for getting those through. The questions I have were surrounding around Fire Station 30. I got some questions from community members as they watch some of the fires in the city go on. And a question they asked was, if a fire was to happen in Fire Station's 30 area, where would a truck come from?
It depends on what part of Station 30's area it is, but it will come from the closest fire truck to that area. I believe right now Station 34, and it sits between 34 and 32, which is Zip Industrial Parkway and Jonesboro Road, so it would be one of those two trucks.
I'll tell you, I moved from Polar Rock to South River Valley, and it's a 15-minute drive. And so if really? Fire Station 30 and to even though it looks different because of road closures, it's literally a 15-minute drive to take those 3 turns. And so I'm very concerned about that. So where are we on bringing Fire Station 30 back online, Firehouse 30 back online, and where is the engine? Where are the current engines for Fire Station 30?
So the current engine is at Station 34. And I'm happy to share with you my conversations with Dean that we will be mobilizing on Station 30 within the next 30 days. And so the goal is to get that station torn down as quickly as possible and to replace it. And our goal is to make sure that we come up with an alternative also to while that station is out of service, even if we have to put a temporary location in place on that property as they build. So understand your concern, your need about Station 30 and our ability to respond, but we'll look into coming up with some creative ways to make sure that we cover that area because 15-minute drive is not acceptable.
And I know you and I, we talk about it every time we talk, and you're always super informed on it. I wanted to make sure that the public could hear how intentional you've been about that. But when you say put a makeshift station there, I need it. I need it.
Understood.
You said it, I need it. Fire Station 30 has been closed over a year now, and we need it. Lastly, I saw a young couple come by Fire Station 30, knock on the door. They were in a car. The mother was pregnant, about 8 months. She was trying to get a baby car seat. How do we open back up Fire Station 30 during certain periods? Or if you get that makeshift, because people actually do go there for their baby car seats. I don't know about other parts of the city, but they need that service, and it's about safety. So I need Fire Station 30 back online. I need those baby car seats for people. Thank you again, Chief.
Got you. We'll make sure that happens.
The Honorable Dustin Hillis.
Sorry, Chief, just one more question. So on the fleet replacement plan, on these years, I'm hoping these are fiscal years, since we are in fiscal year 25, and obviously we went over the dire need for more ladder trucks, or ordering 3 ladder trucks and 8 engines.
Correct.
Is there a timeline for when that order will be presented to council, and has funding been identified for that order yet?
That has been submitted to finance. They have given me the verbal that the funding will be there. And so we're just waiting to move in that space and place the order. But that was put in prior to the beginning of this fiscal year, but it is about fiscal years.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions or concerns? Chief, very well done. Thank you so much. At this time, we'd like to hear from Commissioner Garman.
Thank you.
Fleet Services does fall under Commissioner Garman. We'd like to hear from him today as well. Thank you.
You, Chairwoman Boone and committee, thank you so much. Intercommissioner Kentori Garment for Department of Public Works. Simply want to say initially thank you to Fire Chief. Thank you to the Fire Chief for laying out the readiness of the fire fleet. We have been working hand in hand to make sure that the fleet is indeed ready and capable to meet the needs of the citizenry. Just a couple of things that I want to note here, that we are in regular effective strategy planning sessions with fire. We've upped that cadence to about a weekly cadence based on current need. We most recently collaborated on developing a vehicle replacement plan that will add newer vehicles to the fire fleet and increase the vehicle's projected life expectancy. That will improve vehicle readiness and increase the vehicle's projected life expectancy. Additionally, DPW has progressed a productive part strategy that will help source equipment faster, thus increasing turnaround time on out-of-service fire vehicles. We've also are in the process of upgrading, in conjunction with AIM, our fleet management information system known as AssetWorks, to align more effectively with operational goals. And we're also underway in a pilot testing and telematics platform that incorporates AI technology. These measures will allow the department to transition to a more predictive maintenance model rather than reactive. And this will also help enable repairs before breakdowns happen, thus ensuring a more efficient and proactive fleet department. The challenges in fleet have been noted for quite some time. What I want to assure us all of is that this particular leadership in the department has not only shown its ability to use technology and innovation in a creative way to address such concerns, also our efforts are quite tangible in what we have noted and laid out. And again, I just want to say the partnership with fire has worked really, really well. In the past 3 months, again, we've been very, very much so poised and engaged to address noted concerns I think that we all are familiar with today.
Any questions or concerns? Honorable Antonio Lewis.
And Commissioner Garman, my questions are, you have to explain to me like a 4-year-old. Is this like fixing a car and like mechanics? Because I'm just thinking about like we're having fleet issues and you have people who've been trained to do this. If they don't do it right, you go to a new mechanic. Is this that or something else?
So I do want to mention that I do have our Deputy Commissioner with Fleet here who can speak to some level of specificity as to some of the more specific needs, but it is more complicated than the fixing of a car, though there are some similarities. So when we speak to the mechanics, there is a certain requirement for mechanics to operate on some of the equipment. And so we have to make sure that from a licensure perspective, that we have those mechanics within our fleet. And there have been some challenges there. I'm proud to say that we are in process and have a particular strategy in play, actually working more specifically with you on some of our recruitment efforts. We do have a jobs fair that will be coming up very soon where we have specified some of our needs. We're in communication with some of the local organizations and schools in relation to filling some of these mechanic opportunities that we have within fleet. But I do want to speak to the level of specification for some of the work that we do. I think from a maintenance standpoint is being able to specify what maintenance looks like for the noted vehicle. So I think as the chief went over, when you talk about a vehicle being out of service because of an accident, that's not specificity in relation to maintenance. But when we talk about a vehicle needing certain preventive maintenance care, those are the things that we show up quite readily to do.
And another question surrounding that. So I know we contract out a lot of services. And I know we want to, I'm union strong, labor strong, build a labor force. But as we build our labor force, with this issue being as high a priority as it is, can we contract out this service to a new mechanic who has they're already there, they're already sealed, independent, can we work with the procurement department to get this done? Because as we hire folks, as we train folks for ATC, both in District 12, Job Fair, August 21st in District 12 and Roselle Fan, as we do that, could we contract out some services? Because I want to get these trucks, these engines back on the road. And if we don't have the expertise in-house, we do it way too much. Let's contract out, and then as we build up our service in-house. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, and it is a model that we employ today. One of the things that I will stress is that, I mean, you've certainly been one to call us to excellence in the context of ensuring that we have a proper labor force and that we're giving opportunity to individuals within the city of Atlanta. And so we have certainly embraced that and will continue to embrace that. But there is a component of proper recruitment of noted individuals and then properly training them up. We do have a plan in place, a strategy in place, which I'm happy to share with the committee. We put pen to paper. And so it's something that you all can look at and say, okay, we can see your projections in relation to filling noted roles.
Thank you again, Commissioner Garman. I trust you. I enjoy the work you do in our district. I appreciate the service that you're giving to our city.
Absolutely. Thank you.
The Honorable Dustin Hillis.
Thank you again, Chairwoman Boone. Thank you, Interim Commissioner Garman. So following up on a question I asked Chief Smith, if the chief calls you after this meeting and says, hey, I need these 5 ladder trucks that you show as in the reserve fleet, I need to use those tomorrow. Are those in service, safely in service? Are they functional?
So the answer to that is I can't give you a specific as to those 5. Now, I can give you that after the meeting. I just wasn't prepared to answer that question. What I can tell you is that if they are not in service, we will bring every part of our labor force to bear in the context of those that we have on ground, our mechanics on ground, and also partnerships that we have with vendor to meet that need.
Yeah, I would just like to see in real time what the status of these purported 5 reserve ladders we have, because I've never seen a reserve ladder in service in I don't know how many years. And what I'm told is they're kept on the books just to make the numbers look good. They're not actually, or can't even be functional, because we have 14 ladder trucks out and the audit says we have 19. So I'm just want to nail down where those 5 are that are, I think, just sitting at Clare Drive or wherever the lot is and probably haven't moved in a number of years. And the other question I wanted to ask, so one thing the audit brought up on the maintenance side, and I bring this up because, me and the administration, or Councilmember Boone and the city council and the administration can agree we're going to spend $50 million on the fire fleet tomorrow. But if we don't properly maintain that fleet, it's not going to matter here in a few years. We'll be right back in the same position. So that's one of the things that the audit called out is the deferred maintenance, and fire may have to make some difficult decisions some days when we have 5 or 6 trucks or engines out of service, because it would be better to have 5 of those out of service than 6. And so they're deferring needed maintenance. But that just doesn't wear down the truck more or the engine more. It also can lead to accidents. Could injure citizens, injure firefighters. So I know the chief touched on this new system, electronic system for doing checklists and all that. Is that something you see as well? And if there's a truck out there right now that is due for service 3 months ago, who makes that call? Who, if there's a dispute, fire wants to keep it in service because they're down so many ladder trucks, it really needs service right now. How does that work? Who has the final say so in putting a apparatus in service or taking it out or not?
I'm proud to say, at least for the time that I've been privileged to stand in this capacity, that we haven't operated under the nature of disputes. We've truly operated in collaboration and partnership, and I think that says a lot about the leadership of the fire chief and his willingness to communicate in transparency and drive accountability, not only in his shop, but also encourage the right measure of accountability in our shop. What I will say is that preventive maintenance is certainly important. It plays into the life expectancy, and in some cases, if we need to drive beyond the life expectancy of a vehicle because it's been taken care of so well. Proper use and training of the noted vehicle plays an important component as well. And I think that the fire has done an outstanding job in the training component. I really think that the challenges that we've noted here today are not unknown to us, and they have been some challenges that have been around for a while. What I do want to focus on is the efforts that we have taken and are taking to address that. When we talk about bringing technology to bear and making sure our systems are upgraded, I mentioned the upgrade that we're going through right now with AssetWorks, which allows us to properly source equipment in relation to the proper maintenance, allows us to track our vehicles more readily, increases the communication matrix with fire. These are the kinds of things that we are in process of. We know that process takes time, but we're doing all we can to expedite that. I do want to mention again that we've talked for quite some time when we were in our committee with CUC about shoring up fleet in the context of hiring. We have put some dates on the books now in relation to our strategy and planning. August the 30th is a date that we're looking to have rows 19 and above shored up in fleet. September the 30th are dates that we have put on the books to have mechanic rows shored up within fleet. This doesn't remedy all of the concerns, but it puts us in a better situation to properly respond. And again, I just can't reiterate how much the collaboration and partnership with fire has really set the stage for us to be able to have a proper launching pad for these kinds of successes.
And just finally, the audit again called out the deferred maintenance that hasn't been done. I don't think it even listed specific apparatus or not, but you may not have this information with you right now, but are you able to say right now that the fire fleet, all of its apparatus are up to date on their preventive maintenance, or would you have to get back to me on that?
Yeah, we can certainly provide the level of specificity into the accuracy, because I want to make sure that in the process of being transparent that we are being accurate. And so that's data that we can certainly, I have some members of my team here that we can certainly provide to you. And what I hope that we have collectively shown here today is that our willingness to come forward, be transparent about the current state, but again, also lay out very clear solutions as to how we achieve a better state.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Very well done. Thank you, Chief, and your entire team for all you all are doing in the city of Atlanta. Commissioner Garman, great job. Thank you so much for your hard work and dedication.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you all, and we are moving on for our agenda. Can we have a motion to adopt the agenda? Moved by the Honorable Dustin Hillis, seconded by the Honorable Amir Faroki. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda has been adopted.
Motion to approve the minutes. Moved by the Honorable Dustin Hillis, seconded by the Honorable Antonio Lewis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays, and minutes have been approved. Madam Chair, this takes us to our favorable and unfavorable claims, but we currently lack a quorum.
We are waiting on a quorum at this time. We need a quorum. We do have a quorum. I'll make a motion to approve favorable claims 1 through 12, seconded by the Honorable Antonio Lewis. Mr. Johnson, will you please open the vote?
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The favorable claims have been approved.
We have 2 claims that we wanted to get some information on. What numbers are those? Items. Madam Attorney, can we hear from you on those items, please?
Yes, good afternoon, Amber A. Robinson, City of Atlanta Department of Law. The matters in which we discussed earlier are actually in the resolution section outside of claims. It's resolution number 10 and 11, and those are under section J of the agenda.
Okay, we'll go back to those. We will go back to those. Mr. Johnson, please proceed.
Madam Chair, this takes us to our unfavorable claims.
I'll make a motion to adverse the unfavorable claims, seconded by the Honorable Dustin Hillis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The unfavorable claims have been adversed. This takes us to Section H, ordinance for first reading. Item number 124-0-1415, an ordinance by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to enter into a First Amendment to lease agreement with Atlanta Police Foundation Support Incorporated for lease of property located at 69 Mason Avenue, Atlanta, Georgia 30307, DeKalb County parcel ID number listed herein, and the contiguous property located at 1504 Hardy Street, Atlanta, Georgia 30307, DeKalb County parcel ID listed herein, consisting of one building and an adjoining vacant lot for use as an Atlanta Police Department substation to extend the lease term for 3 years, commencing retroactively on June 22nd, 2024, ending on June 21st, 2027, authorizing a rental rate of $1.00 for a term of the lease agreement, waiving Article 10, Section 2-1546 of the Procurement Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, authorizing the expenditure to be charged to and paid from accounts listed herein and for other purposes. Item number 224-0-1416. An ordinance by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the settlement of all claims involving the City of Atlanta in the matter of the City of Atlanta versus 0.007 acres of land and certain easement rights. Golem Investments Incorporated, Kerry Oil Company Incorporated, South State Bank, formerly known as Center State Bank, Georgia Power Company, formerly known as Georgia Railway and Power Company, Georgia Department of Revenue, Arthur E. Ferdinand, Fulton County Tax Commissioner, and any and all persons having an interest in 1790 Howell Mill Road, Northwest Atlanta, Georgia, 30318, tax parcel ID number listed herein,
Fulton County Superior Court, civil action file number listed herein, for an amount not to exceed $52,000.00 in settlement of the condemnation of 0.007 acres of required right-of-way and temporary easement for the Howell Mill Complete Street Project located at 1790 Howell Mill Road, Northwest, Atlanta, Georgia, 30318. Tax parcel ID number listed herein. All amounts associated with these accounts shall be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. The sections to our regular agenda, Section I, ordinance for second reading. Item number 3, 2040-1389, an ordinance by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the mayor as designated to correct Resolution 21R4301 adopted by the Atlanta City Council December 6, 2021, and approved pursuant to City Charter Section 2-403 on December 15, 2021, for the purpose of exercising the first renewal of contract number listed herein, sergeants and lieutenants promotional testing on behalf of the Atlanta Police Department to correct the authorized renewal payment terms. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the account listed herein and for other purposes.
Move approval. Seconded by the Honorable Dustin Hillis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 4, 2040-1398. An ordinance by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari to amend Chapter 10, Article 2, Section 10-92B of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinance so as to provide an exemption from the distance requirements listed in Section 2-88.1 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances for one specialty food shop license to sell malt beverages and or wine by the package located at 210 Flat Shoals Avenue Southeast, Atlanta, Georgia 30316, and for other purposes.
Move approval. Seconded by the Honorable Antonio Lewis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 5, 2040-1404. An ordinance by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet to waive Chapter 2, Article 9, Division 1, Section 2-910 grant applications of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to ratify the City of Atlanta's grant application with the United States Department of Homeland Security for the FY23 non-competing continuation funding for the FY19 Securing the Cities program, to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to accept the award of the NCC grant funding and to amend the FY 2024 budget in the amount of $2,250,000.00 to anticipate and appropriate grant funds from Department of Homeland Security to authorize the mayor or the director of the mayor's office of emergency preparedness as his designee and to enter into any required agreements necessary for the implementation of this award and for other purposes.
Move approval. Seconded by the Honorable Dustin Hillis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Madam Chair, can we take items 6 through 9 together as a block if there is no objection from the committee?
Please
These
proceed.
are settlement legislation.
Please proceed, Mr. Johnson.
Section J resolutions, item number 6, 24R3890, a resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the settlement of all claims against the City of Atlanta in the case of Thomas Smith versus City of Atlanta. Civil action file number listed herein, pending in the State Court of Fulton County, an amount of $115,000.00, authorizing the settlement amount to be charged to and paid from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes. Item number 7, 24R3891, a resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the settlement of all claims against defendant City of Atlanta in the case of State Farm Mutual Automobile Insurance Company as the broker of Afrida Renee Walker versus City of Atlanta, civil action file number listed herein, pending in the State Court of Fulton County, Georgia, an amount of $3,800.00, authorizing the settlement amount to be charged to and paid from the accounts listed herein, authorizing Chief Financial Officer to distribute the settlement amount and for other purposes. Item number 8, 24R3892, a resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the settlement of all claims against the City of Atlanta in the case of Deja A. Richardson versus City of Atlanta, civil action file number listed herein, pending in the State Court of Fulton County, an amount of $12,000.00, authorizing the settlement amount to be charged to and paid from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes. Item number 9, 24R 3893, a resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the settlement amount of all claims against the City of Atlanta in the case of Daniel Siggers IV, Danny Siggers, a minor, by next friend Daniel Siggers IV, Demore Siggers, a minor, by next friend Daniel Siggers IV, Zion Siggers, a minor, by next friend Daniel Siggers IV, and Zoe Siggers, a minor, by next friend Daniel Siggers IV versus City of Atlanta civil action file number listed herein in the State Court of Fulton County in the amount of $35,000.00, authorizing the settlement amount to be charged to and paid from accounts listed herein and for other purposes.
Move approval. Second. Seconded by the Honorable Dustin Hillis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. These items are favorable. Item number 1024R3894, a resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing settlement of all claims against the City of Atlanta in the case of Avanti Helton as the administrator of the estate of Margie Helton Shelley, deceased, versus City of Atlanta civil action file number listed herein, pending in the State Court of Fulton County in the amount of $216,000.00, authorizing the settlement amount to be charged to and paid from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes.
Madam City Attorney.
Yes, Patrice Perkins Hooker, City Attorney, and I have with me Tori Smith, who is our Deputy in charge of litigation. For these matters, Madam Chair, that you had mentioned that you wanted more
Yes.
detail, can we go into executive session to discuss that rather than doing that in public? These settlement agreements have not been finalized until we get approval from you, and I would hate to have a discussion like that here.
Let's hold those. Let's hold those today.
Okay.
Let's hold those. We were not prepared to go on.
Madam Chair, may I also sound item number 11 if it also needs to be held?
No, let's just hold those items.
Okay. May I sound item number 11 so we can
Yes.
both hold?
Correct.
Thank you.
Item number 1124R3895, a resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the settlement of all claims against the City of Atlanta in the case of Dolphiny Jackson versus City of Atlanta civil action file number listed herein, pending in the Superior Court of Fulton County in the amount of $300,000.00, authorizing the settlement amount to be charged to and paid from accounts listed herein and for other purposes.
Move approval. Second. Make a motion to hold. Seconded by the Honorable Antonio Lewis. Please open the vote. We have been joined by the Honorable Michael Julian Bond.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. These items are held in committee.
Next, please. Thank you.
Item number 1224R3896, a resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee amending resolution number 24R3656 and authorizing payment in the amount of $145,500.00 in the settlement of all claims against Lasia Johnson versus City of Atlanta civil action file number listed herein, pending in the United States Court of the Northern District of Georgia, related to claims arising from the termination of plaintiff's employment, which occurred on January 11, 2022, to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to pay the settlement from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes.
Move approval. Second by the Honorable Michael Julian Bond. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 1324R3897, a resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to execute the First Amendment to sole source agreement listed herein, AFD Ferguson Alerting Radio Interface Controller for Fire Station Maintenance and Support Services with WestNet Incorporated on behalf of the Department of Aviation to add Atlanta Fire Rescue Department as an authorized user and to add funding for the additional services in an amount not to exceed $339,844.46. All contract work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Madam Chair, the Department of Law requests that this item be forwarded with no recommendation on condition in order for the Law Department to confirm with the Department of Procurement if the sole source needs to be updated.
We would like to, what is the urgency of this?
I'll defer to the Law Department to expound on the nature of the condition.
Good afternoon, Amber A. Robinson, City of Atlanta Department of Law. The Department of Fire Rescue, I believe, would have to advise as to the urgency of the execution of this agreement. But as this is an amendment to a sole source to add a user outside of the originally authorized user, which was Department of Aviation, this requires more research to confer with the Department of Procurement to ensure that either this these additional services and users are contemplated within the original sole source, or that the sole source be updated.
Let's move approval with no recommendation, and the chief can address it or his staff on Monday in full council. Second. Motion to move with no recommendation, seconded by the Honorable Antonio Lewis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is forwarded with no recommendation. Item number 1424R 3898, resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to enter into amendment number 3 to add additional funding to the contract amount to replace the uninterruptible power supply at Fire 21 for agreement listed herein, annual maintenance for citywide radio system with Vertiv Services Incorporated on behalf of the Atlanta Police Department, an amount not to exceed $103,598.80. All contract work we charge to and pay from the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Move approval. Second by the Honorable Michael Julian Bond. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Madam Chair, can we take items 15 through 19 together as a block if there is no objection from the committee?
Please proceed.
These are all recapture legislation on behalf of APD. Item number 1524R 3899, a resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the reemployment of City of Atlanta Department of Police employee Police Officer David Clemens, Atlanta Police Reserve Program Coordinator under Section 3-505A of the Charter of the City of Atlanta and for other purposes. Item number 624R 3900, a resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the reemployment of City of Atlanta Department of Police employee Shirley Harden, Data Reporting Analyst Senior under Section 3-505A of the Charter of the City of Atlanta and for other purposes. Item number 1724R 3901, a resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the reemployment of City of Atlanta Department of Police employee Police Officer Wayne Bechtel, the Data Reporting Analyst Senior under Section 3-505A of the Charter of the City of Atlanta and for other purposes. Item number 1824R 3902, a resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the reemployment of City of Atlanta retiree Major John Quigley in the Atlanta Police Department for an annual compensation not to exceed $89,753.00 pursuant to Section 3-505B of the Charter of the City of Atlanta and for other purposes. Item number 1924R 3903, a resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the reemployment of City of Atlanta Department of Police employee Kimberly Bennett, Customer Service Supervisor under Section 3-505A of the Charter of the City of Atlanta and for other purposes.
The Honorable Dustin Hillis.
Deputy Chief Hampton. Glad fire is gone now, so I can ask this question. But and I know him, and I'm sure he is a very smart person and has a lot of irreplaceable knowledge at this point. But why are we recapturing a major?
You're talking about Mr. Quigley?
Yes.
Right now, I think Mr. Quigley is handling our, you asked me on the spot, our accreditation process. So due to his experience and knowledge of that, and again, his salary is not commensurate of what current majors are making. But we captured him due to his knowledge and experience. And I believe in order to bring someone with that level of knowledge and experience will cost more than what we're currently paying him right now.
And he's going to use some of this recapture time to train up a well-positioned captain to eventually take his spot. Right?
Okay, sure.
All right.
Move approval.
Second.
Seconded by the Honorable Antonio Lewis. Please. The Honorable Dustin Hillis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. These items are favorable. Madam Chair, that concludes our legislative items for today.
Do we have any announcements at this time from the body? I would like to ask for condolences for the family of Hosea Williams. They lost their 34-year-old granddaughter, Yolanda, suddenly on last week. Please keep the family of civil rights legend Hosea Williams, the Favors family, the Omalami family in your prayers. They lost their young granddaughter, Yolanda Favors, at the Hosea Williams Help Office suddenly on last week. The family of the late civil rights legend, Hosea Williams. Please keep them in your prayers. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.